These are topic tests that should be attempted when you've completed the basic concepts of a topic. The idea with these tests is to understand whether you're exam ready or not with that topic. The video that you're going to see is an analysis of the test. So we talk about overall analysis of the test, question-wise solution, and how difficult or easy a question was, the ideal time to attempt the question. And if you do like the test in the videos, there are more than 200 such topic tests available on our Bodhee Prep Android app, the link for which is in the description of the video. So feel free to download the app and attempt these tests, which cover the complete range of topics for QA. Now, this video talks about the simple interest compound interest test, test one, as is there in the app. Overall, this test is an easy to moderate level of difficulty, and therefore an attempt of about 7 questions would be good. And while you're attempting questions 1 to 10 and getting a net of 7 attempts, a couple of questions we may not be able to solve. We might get a question wrong here or there. The overall time for all of that would be about 18 to 21 minutes. Most of the questions are not very calculation intensive, maybe one or two, and therefore the time is lesser than 20 minutes or 2 minutes per question. 18 to 20 minutes should be the ideal time to attempt these questions. Now, starting with the questions, question number one, for instance, question one says, Amal invests rupees 12,000 at 8% interest compounded annually and rupees 10,000 at 6% interest compounded semi-annually. Both investment being for 1 year. Bimal invests his money at 7.5% interest for 1 year. Amal Bimal get the same amount of interest. Now the interest that Amal will get is 8% of 12,000. Plus, since this 6% is compounded semi-annually, what will happen is, for the first 6 months, the interest will be 3%. That is 6 by 2. For the next 6 months, interest will be 3%. So the overall interest for the year will be 3 plus 3 plus 3 into 3 upon 100, which will come out to 6.09%. And therefore, 6.09% of 10,000 will be the interest on the second part. This should be the interest that Bimal gets. Bimal gets 7.5% of, say, the principal. If we drop the percentage and often simply multiply, we'll get 8 into 1200, 8 into 12,000, which will be 96,000 plus 60900 is equal to 7.5p. So p will come out to, if we add these two, 009 615 156,900 upon 7.5. What I'm doing is I'm multiplying this by 2, so this becomes 15. Now we can cancel this out. 15 ones are 15, 0, 15 fours are 60, 90, 15 sixes are 90, and 0. So 15690 divided by 15 will give us 10460 into 2 will be 20. 460 double is 290. And 920, sorry, not 290. And therefore, the principal that Bimal should invest is 20920, and that becomes the answer. Now, the standout subtopic here would be the concept of compound interest, where we say that we are compounding semi-annually. But overall, as you can see, there's just one equation that we have to solve. And apart from one division, the calculation involved is also not very difficult, and therefore about 2 minutes to solve the question, but an easy question overall. A sum of money lent out at compound interest increases in value by 50% in 5 years. So if we invest P in 5 years, this will become 1.5p. Increase of 50% means 10 will become 15, or a multiplier of 1.5. A person wants to lend different sums x, y, z for 10, 15 and 20 years respectively at the above rate, in such a way that he gets back equal sums at the end of the year, at the end of the periods. What is the ratio of x, y, z? Now x is lent for 10 years, so 5 years and 5 years. We can see that in the first 5 years, it will become 1.5x. In the next 5 years, this entire amount will get multiplied by 5, and therefore, after 10 years, we'll get 1.5 square of x. If we look at y, in the first 5 years, it will become 1.5y. In the next 5 years, this entire thing will get multiplied by 1.5. So 1.5 square y. In the next 5 years, 15 years complete, this will get multiplied by 1.5 times again. In case of compound interest, the multiplying factor is same. Similarly, if you look at Z, there will be 4 periods of 5 years. Every time the principal gets multiplied by 1.5, so the amount will be 1.5 raised to power 4 Z. According to the question, the amounts have to be equal to 1.5 square of x should be equal to 1.5 cube of y should be equal to 1.5 times raised to power 4 z. 1.5 raised to power 4 z. Dividing by 1.5 square, we get x is equal to 1.5y is equal to 1.5 square z. These three numbers have to be equal. We are keeping them equal to 1.5 square, for example. Therefore, here I can say x is equal to 1.5 square. Y, because 1.5y is equal to 1.5 square, we get y is equal to 1.5. And if we equate these two, we'll clearly get z is equal to 1. So the required ratio of x, y, z will be 1.5 square is to 1.5 is to 1. Now 1.5 can be written as 3 by 2. 3 by 2 square will be 9 by 4 is to 3 by 2 is to 1. Multiplying the entire thing by 4. 9 by 4 into 4 is 9. 3 by 2 into 4 will be 3 by 2 into 4 will be 6. 1 into 4 will be 4. So the required ratio comes to 9 is to 6 is to 4. Again, concept of compound interest, that the same multiplier will happen for the principal over a given period of time. It's a moderate level of question because in the end ratios also have to be managed. About 2.5 minutes to solve the question. In how many years will the simple interest on a sum of money be equal to the principal at the rate of 16.3 by 2%? So the rate is 16 threes are 48 plus 2. 50 by 3% is the rate. We need the simple interest to be equal to principal. So if principal is P, simple interest also has to be equal to P. Just put in the formula. Simple interest is equal to principal into rate into time by 100. P and P gets cancelled, 50 and 2 gets cancelled. Time comes out to 3 2s are 6 years. Simple interest based question, just write the formula and solve. Should not take more than 90 seconds to solve this question. Definitely something that should be looked at in the examination. Find the 8% per annum rate if rupees 2000 amounts to 2315 in 1.5 year, interest being compounded half yearly. Interest being compounded half yearly. So we can say amount 2315.25 is equal to principal into 1 plus r by 2 upon 100. 1.5 years, half year compounding, so 3 time periods. So this is what we are supposed to solve. This becomes 2315.25 upon 2000 is equal to 1 plus r by 200 cube. 2315.25 upon 2000 is equal to 200 plus r whole cube upon 200 cube. So 200 into 200 into 200. This gets cancelled by 10. This is here is a 2. So 200 plus r cube will come out to 2315.25 into 2 2s are 4 and then 1 2 3 3 0. If we multiply this by 4, 2315.25 into 4 will give us 4 2 8 no, 1 520. 1 carry forward to 4 on the 4 6 92 9261 9261 0 0 3 zeros. 0 is what we get 9261. 9261 is 21 cube. And therefore we can write this as 200 plus r whole cube. This is not square but cube is equal to 9261 is 21 cube and then 3 so 210 cube, which means 200 plus r is equal to 210, which means R is equal to 10%. 10% is nothing but 10 by 100 or 0.1. So from the options, R becomes 0.1. Again, the question is easy in the sense that we just have to put the formula for compound interest and get the value of R. Calculation might seem a little difficult, but again, in the exam, or especially in a paper like that, we have the calculator. So therefore, I'm saying an easy question in terms of concepts. The calculation might be a little tricky, but in any case, not more than 2 minutes to solve the question. A man borrows rupees 4,000 15% compound rate of interest. At the end of each year, he pays back rupees 1,500. How much amount should he pay at the end of the third year to clear all his dues? So starting with 4,000 in year one, 15% interest will be accrued. So 15% of 4,000 will be the interest. This comes out to 600. So after year one, the amount payable will be 4,600. From this, 1,500 is paid, and therefore 3,100 remaining. In year two, interest on this will be accrued. So 15% of 3,100. 15 into 30 is 450 plus 15 into 1 is 15, so 465. And therefore here the interest will become 3,565. 3,100 plus 465. From this 1,500 is paid, and therefore the interest or the amount remaining is 2,065. On this we'll get 13% interest in year 3. So 15% of 2,065. 2,065. Might as well multiply 2,0650. 2,065 into 10. Half of that, which will be 1,0325. This gets added. So 2,065 into 15 will come out to 3,0975 upon 100. And therefore, this comes out to 309.75. Therefore, at the end of the final year or year 3, the amount payable will be 2,065 plus 309.75. 2,065 plus 309.75, which is 0.754723. 2374.75, option A. Again, the concept of reducing balance is used. The question is easy. The calculation is also only the last part is a little taxing. Otherwise, simple calculation. So I'm saying an easy question should be attempted. What annual installment will discharge a debt of 6,450 due in 4 years, 5% simple interest? So at year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. This amount is due in 4 years. So at the end of the 4th year, 6,450 is to be paid. Some money would have been taken at the end of the year. Investment or the installments will be paid in these 4 at these 4 times. Suppose the investment is X. This X will get interest for year 2, year 3, and year 4, and therefore the value of this X at the end of the 4th year will be X into interest for 5%. So 5% for the first year, second year, and third year. So X into 1.15. 3 years, 5% is 15% interest. 15% interest means the value becomes X into 1.15. Similarly, this will become X into 1.10, and this will become X into 1.05 because simple interest is being paid. Now, these are the 4 investments, and we're looking at the value of these 4 investments at the end of the 4th year. The installments, so we can say X plus X into 1.05 plus X into 1.10 plus X into 1.15. This should be equal to the repayment that is to be made, which is 6,450. If we add, we get 2.25, 3.25, 3.3, 4.3. So 4.3x is equal to 6,450. X is nothing but 6,450 upon 4.3. 4.3 is prime. So we will have to divide, and that seems to be the best option. So we divide 6,450 by 4.3. So 43, 6,4,500 4 ones are 4, 43, sorry. This comes out to 1, 2, 1, 5. Fives are 2, 1, 5, and that's it. So the two zeros come here, and therefore the payment, annual installment is X 1500 rupees. This is a question based on investment. Since the investment is simple interest, so I think the question will be easy to moderate because no division with multiplying factor has to happen. And also, when we are talking of rates, we can just add the rates or multiply the rate with the year to get the effective rate. For 2 years, 5 becomes 10. For 3 years, becomes 15. In case of compound interest, it becomes a little more difficult. Since it is simple interest, so I'm saying easy to moderate, about 2.5 minutes to solve the question. A man invests rupees 5,000 for 3 years at 5% per annum compound interest. Reckoned yearly income tax at the rate of 20% of the interest earned is deducted at the end of the each year. Now, this 20% is deducted on the interest only. Find the amount at the end of the third year. Suppose we start with 100 rupees as the principal. We will get 5% as interest, and therefore the amount becomes 100 plus 5. Now, 20% will be deducted on the interest. 20% of 5 will be 1 rupee that is deducted. So net amount will be 100 plus 4. So basically 100 rupees you'll get 4% interest because 20% of 5% will be deducted. So on this 5,000 rupees, what happens is we get a net increase of 4% in the year one. This amount again increases by 4% in year two, which further increases by 4% in year three, and we get the final amount. And therefore the final amount will be 1,000 into 1 plus 4 upon 100 raised to power 3, like it happens in compound interest. This can be written as 5,000 plus 24, 4 upon 100 is 25, 1 plus 25 upon 100 will give us, erasing this for a bit, yeah. 1 plus 1 upon 25 is 26 upon 25, therefore 5,000 into 26 upon 25 cube. This can be written as 5,000 into 26 into 26 into 26 upon 25 into 25 into 25. Now 25 twos are 50, 25 fours are 100. So we get 8 from here. 26 cube. 26 cube will be 26 square is 676. 26 square is 676. 676 into 26, which will be 6 6 36, 6 3, 6 7 42, 5 4, 4056. And this into 2 will be 76 into 2. 140, 152, 5, 2, 12, 13. And therefore 6, 7, 5, 7, 1. 1, 5. 26 cube will be 17576. So this becomes 17576 into 8 by 25. Again multiply by 4. So this becomes 100. 8 fours are 32. Multiply 17576 by 32. Multiplying this by 32, we will get 17576 into 2 will be 76, 52, 135. Multiplying this by 3, we will get 8, 21, 2, 1, 2, 7, 1, 2, 5. 5, 2, 3, 1, 4, 2, 6, 5. This becomes 562432 upon 100, and therefore 5624.32 becomes the answer. Again, conceptually not very difficult, but for me calculation took a bit of time. Therefore, I'm saying moderate, maybe 2.5 minutes to solve the question. What is the difference between the compound interests on rupees 5,000 for 1.5 is a 4% per annum, compounded yearly and half yearly? When we compounded half yearly, we will get on 5,000 in the first 2 months. This is half yearly. 2%, then again 2%, and then again 2%. This will be 1.5 years. yearly on 5,000, we will get 4% in the first year, and then 2% in the next half a year. So this is 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. This is 1 year, and then 6 months. The overall interest. Now 5,000 increased by 2%. 2% of 5,000 will be 1 by 50, or 50 100. This will become 5,100. 2% of 5,100 will be 102. So here the amount will be 5. This is 102. 5,202. 2% of then 5,202 will be 2% of 5,202. This becomes 04104 upon 100, 104.04. And therefore here we will have 5,202 plus 104.04, or 306.04 as the interest. When the interest is done half yearly, when the compounding is done half yearly, the compound interest comes out to 306.04. In the second case, the yearly interest will be 4% of 5,000, which will be 200. So here the amount will be 5,200. Then we'll get 2% of 5,200, which will come out to 104. And therefore here the amount will be 5,200 plus 104, which is 304. And therefore the difference between the two interests will be 306 minus 304, 2.04 rupees. Again, not very difficult conceptually. The only problem could be calculation. So I'm saying a moderate level of question which should be solved in about 2.5 odd minutes. The compound interest on rupees 2,800 for 18 months. So 18 months is 1 year, and then 6 months per annum is. So for the first year, we will get interest at 10%. 10% of 2,800 is 280. And therefore, the amount after 1 year will become 3,080. This is 1 year. For the next 6 months, we will get half the interest, that is 5%. 5% of 3,080 will be 5 2s are 10, 154. And therefore, the amount here will be 3,080 plus 154, which will be 3234. 3234. The principal was 2,800, and therefore the interest will be 2,800. 3234 minus amount minus the principal, which will be 34. 434 becomes the interest that accrues. For me, I'd say this is an easy question, not more than 2 minutes to solve, should be attempted in exams. A sum of money becomes 8 times in 3 years. P becomes 8P in 3 years if the rate is compounded annually. In how much time will the same amount at the same compound rate become 16 times? Now, if we break this down, there are 3 years which have passed, and the principal has become 2 cube P. Therefore, in each time period, the principal would have become 2 times. From P to 2P, then 2P to 4P, and then 4P doubling to 8P. And since there are 3 years in which P goes from P to 8P, that means every year the principal is doubling. That is to say, if 100 becomes 800 in 3 years, that will only happen when 100 becomes 200 in the first year. Then 200 doubles to 400 in the second year, then 400 doubles to 800 in the third year. That means principal is doubling every year. So if we continue like this, in the next 1 year, 8P will double to 16P. Oh, in what time will the principal become 16 times? So P to 16P will happen in 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, that is 4 years time. This is a pretty tricky question. There is a very good chance that while quickly solving, we just multiply 3 by 2, and from here write 8P in 3 years. Therefore, in the next 3 years, 16P, which will be wrong to do. So tricky question. Solving time is not very high, but in trying to do the question quickly, an error might happen. B is the answer. I'm saying moderate level, solving time 90 seconds. Now, in terms of overall level of difficulty, as mentioned initially, this was an easy to moderate sort of a paper. 7 net attempts would be good attempts in about 18 to 21 minutes. The questions that I am looking at are 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. So just to have a look at these questions. One is this one, simple interest, just equating, compound interest, just equating the number. Only the successive interest part was the challenge here. I thought this was a more difficult question. Understanding how the 50% value increase in 15 years and how it will behave for 10, 15, and 20 years was a little difficult. Could have been left. This was a straightforward question, should have been done. Similarly, this was rate percent was to be calculated. Calculation might have taken a bit of time, but was conceptually easy, just the formula. This I thought was not very difficult because again, reducing balance, just put in the values and keep calculating. Similarly, this was not very difficult because of the numbers involved essentially, and the fact that the installment was simple interest based, easier to calculate. This could have been done as well because once you realize that 20% or 50%, 5% is being reduced, then it is just calculating. This I thought was a better question because conceptually, not everyone would be comfortable understanding how to manage 4% per year for 1.5 years. This could have been done once you know question 8. Question 9 becomes a lot easier, especially 10% is easy to solve. Again, this was, I think, a tricky question, could have been a mistake in the exam. So for me, the attempt would be 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9 in this test.